We are the knights that say. Hello and welcome to episode 5 on the AM Filmmaking Podcast. Joined once again with Abs and Pranav. How are you doing both?
Woo!
Hello.
Once again.
Yeah.
Wagwan. Yes.
Brrrah.
So
Don't.
skirt.
Let's get a kid pop.
Oh dear.
Boom.
2017. Come on now.
Mate, I was actually watching that the other day. I mean, speaking of memes,
Solid memes, man. Solid.
Solid.
memes.
Oh dear.
solid.
Speaking of memes,
I mean,
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
mate,
Yes.
what a meme and what a film. That's what we're going to be reviewing today. It's my choice of films, and we're going all the way back about 45 years ago. In 1975, it was Monty Python's first attempt of a full feature film, or probably actually a second attempt, but the first one, it didn't bring their fame to what it is today, as we know. A lot has happened actually for the past week. I mean, in terms of turn of events, obviously, you know, our lockdown's been extended, blah blah blah. But actually, in my opinion, there's actually been a bit more positivity. I mean, the top story for me, it has to be Captain Tom Moore. I mean,
Hats off
Jesus.
to him, mate.
Yep.
100%.
honestly, he's raised over £20 million for the NHS. That's incredible for like his 100th birthday, and that number's going to keep rising. You know.
Yeah, just hats off. That's all I can say in that. Yeah.
It's you know what? It's that sort of attitude. He has that attitude to try and help, and I think, you know, just straight up hats off. Like, you can't say more or less than what it is. It's just absolutely amazing. And I think everyone's, you know, sort of getting behind that sort of wave of positivity, which made the week a little bit better, you know.
And there's just been a lot more. I found there's a bit more Instagram challenges. I mean,
Oh,
I know you're huffing because I gave
Thrown
you
under
one.
the trade for this one. Go on, Abs.
a challenge, yes, an amazing challenge, Adam. I thank you very much for challenging me to run 5 kilometers. I lost what? I don't know. I lost like both kneecaps, one lung, a kidney. Yeah, and you know, the ability to breathe properly.
Luckily you're Asian,
Mate.
so there's probably several doctors around.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my days. No, I love running though. I personally love running because it just gets you out and about, isn't it? But yeah, 5K can be a bit of a challenge. Depends what mood you're in, or you're as lazy as Abs, isn't it?
Lazy as Abs. I do workouts. I just don't run. I don't get how people run for fun. It's not fun. Don't.
Running is fun.
I prefer the
No.
drinking one, actually.
I prefer
Oh,
drinking.
that's disgusting. I would throw up by like halfway. If
I-
anyone
I-
gives me that challenge, I swear to God.
Pranav, please do it. Please start off. Nominate Adam and
I
me
might
just so we
just
can
start
see him
it
throw
off,
up on
you know.
camera. Because
Drink
I
my
won't
vodka.
necessarily have to drink alcohol. I can still neck, like, you know, a pint of water. But just to see Adam throw up, it's worth it.
Just straight vodka is what we're gonna do with.
That's what you do, bro.
Wow.
You destroy your throat. That's fine.
Well, I might do it during my. I'm thinking actually doing a live stream tonight. Obviously, we record this on a Saturday. I'm gonna try and do a live stream tonight where I try and neck it down. You'll see what the live stream's about, so we'll see about that.
Should be fun.
We were talking about memes as well. I mean, the one big meme that's just blown up all of a sudden, it has to be that coffin
Yep.
meme. Man, I love that meme.
Goes
Jesus.
really well with the current environment, actually.
You made a great meme about that for me as well, didn't you, Adam?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Care to show the viewers, maybe?
They can only use their ears, but basically, if I'm allowed to say it, if I'm given permission by Obi-Wan Abs,
Obi-Wan Abs allows permission.
he's basically dancing on the dance floor. This was about a year ago. And I turned my Snapchat camera to see he slipped down onto his kneecaps. And I thought
Goodbye
it'd be
kneecaps.
literally, and he got back up and he was just like shouting at everyone like, "Hey!" So I thought it was a good idea to, when he slips and falls, which was all caught on camera, to then put obviously the Nigerian guys with their coffin to dance to it with the hilarious music, I think. So,
Yeah, I had a lot to drink. That's all I can say.
honestly, well, you were buying, by the end of the night, you're buying everyone like Jaeger bomb shots, and I was like, fucking
I think we did like 5 rounds of Jaeger shots at the end of that night, and
We
beyond
did.
what else we had to drink, it was ridiculous. But I still remember the night, and it's one of the best nights ever.
It was. I brought home a hat, a cowboy hat, and a saxophone.
I had a guitar that I chucked out last week, actually. It was just lying there behind the couch. I don't know how it was there, but my mum found it and she was like, "What's this?" And it was just deflated, covered in dust. Chuck it out.
All I had to remember that night was that video, really, achy kneecaps and a bunch of glitter that I don't know where that came from. I think it was one of the hats. It's like I woke up and it was like a glitter house, and I was thinking, why is there so much glitter?
Glitter all over my face, actually.
Like, it was the hats. It was those like little top hats that we had. They were all covered in glitter, and that cheap kind as well. The one that don't wash away.
But yeah, like another thing as well that I've found, I think it's just because people are using the internet so much more, it actually just keeps cutting out. Like my internet, personally, it just keeps dropping out.
Yeah, everyone's working from home now. All the schools are still at home. All the people are at home. So the area, just my area in general as well, is just all over the place. The internet. We were supposed to get Virgin Media actually, and they kept it going for a month. And they said we're gonna come in, and then it was just like, nope, canceling it.
No, Virgin was a little bit up and down, because what they tend to do is they sort of increase the prices every now and then.
Mhm.
So they're really, really sneaky with it. We switched from Virgin recently to Sky,
Ooh.
and touch wood, it's been better than Virgin so far, but Virgin are really sneaky with payments.
Virgin, if you want to defend yourself, come to the podcast.
Why not? I'll fight them tooth and nail, kick them from my friggin' camera as well.
I'd love to see that, to be honest.
Just Abs.
Where's the invite?
whole of Virgin Media.
He'll come with his toolbox and throw spanners at you.
I'll get one of the boys from the tech shop to hand me their like 10-inch wrench or something like that. I'll be like, what do you want now?
Or maybe he'll become the slasher from like Iron Man 2. Like he'll come with these massive electrical wires.
No, two massive electric wrenches. Like, let's fucking have it. Let's fucking have it.
So we're gonna get right into the main part to why everyone's here, and we're obviously reviewing Monty Python and Holy Grail. And honestly, this is my favorite comedy film of all time. It was directed by two directors. It was by Terry Gilliam, who went on to then make other famous films. I think it's by 12 Monkeys, Brazil as well. And Terry Jones, who sadly he passed away, I believe it was last year. So rest in peace, his soul. But both of them actually played. They were both actors in it as well, because they had they never directed a film before. This was their first ever feature film that they directed. So, Abs, Pran, what do we think of it? I mean, you two saw it for the first time ever. I mean, I've seen this hundreds of times, but what do you think of it?
I was going to say, how about you go first, Adam? Because obviously it's your pick this week, and we went first last week, so why not go first yourself, mate?
Honestly, I love this film. I mean, this is a film that undoubtedly it just breaks all the boundaries. I mean, it breaks the fourth wall. It has there's a story, but it is absolutely crazy what they do with
overall. Not just their things. It is broken overall.
It's broken, but it's ingenious for what they do. I mean, it's pure silliness. Like, we thought we couldn't get any more sillier than Mr. Bean's Holiday and The Dictator, but this film is by far beyond silly. Like,
in stupidity, it chucks those two films out of the park.
literally.
The thing is that I'm not gonna lie. First time watching it, I was like, I forgot to make notes. I'll be honest. I forgot to make notes. I was like, screw the notes. I just kind of threw my laptop to the side, just got my head stuck to the screen. It was, I loved it. I loved it personally.
Oh man.
Oh, he's
I love
crying.
it.
Look at him. I can see the tears from his eyes right now.
Aye.
Can I just say though,
No, that's
speaking
good.
of-
I was so worried that Abs was going to say he hated this film. He left me on a ... like on Snapchat saying, "I'll tell you later in the podcast." As I was shitting myself, I was thinking, "Oh God, he hated this film."
he's gonna come up
But-
with a whole essay saying how much he hates the movie.
But Abs, what stood out for you? Why, like, without giving any spoilers at the moment, what was it that you really enjoyed about it?
It appealed to the sort of man, boy, child in me, if I'm honest. The wackiness, the silliness. It reminded me like a sort of cross between Tom and Jerry meets the Looney Tunes, put into real action and then thrown into a movie, because it had a lot of silliness, and also it had that sort of spoofy, scary movie feel to it, if you know what I mean.
What about you, Pranav?
Yeah, I enjoy memes, and the whole movie felt like a meme. I was quite confused the first time around because I've never seen any Monty Python movies at all, and this is my first one. It reminded me quite a lot of Horrible Histories. I don't know if you guys ever watched
Yes,
Horrible
yes.
Histories. Reminded me very much of that, where there's just skit after skit after skit, and it's just it's trying to it's got the historic background in it, but it's not actually accurate, and it's just
I was
actually,
gonna
it was
say.
funny. It was very funny, actually. Similarly to Abs, first time around, I didn't make any notes. I was just watching it just for the sake of watching it, and I liked it. There were parts I enjoyed, but for its time, like 1975, the movie is really good. It was well ahead of its time for when it was released,
Yeah,
and that's why it's still funny now because of all the stupid things in it.
absolutely. It was almost like a lot of people that I said in reviews. It's comedy that kind of certified films that we see today. It was almost that beginning part of it, and for me, it's just a film I could keep going back over and over again, and I'll still find it funny. I mean, yes, of course, for its time, there are some moments I would agree that it didn't really stand the test of time, but like the majority of the film, it's just like wow, what, like nothing makes sense, but it does make sense, if you get what I mean.
Mhm.
So
It
Sound
just
like
sort of
trying to explain The Dictator and why I like that movie.
No, you know what? Yeah, this it definitely, mate. Should we just get into it?
if you want to, I mean, go and start it.
I don't think we need to
as
hide
a-
from spoilers in this one. This is 1975. Like,
Yeah, again. The thing
But
is,
you two never saw it.
I yeah, Pranav, he has us on that one. We
Yeah,
can't
you
really
got
say
me on
much
that
there.
one.
We'll be back. Don't worry, Adam. We'll be
Yeah.
back.
just you wait.
The intro, it starts from the intro and it carries on from there. Where does the Swedish coming from? I loved it.
Did you guys, like, when you were first watching the film, the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, I wonder if they think they're gonna try and turn off the captions in the film.
I was thinking, I was like, where's this coming from? And then all I see, the people in charge of this was sacked, and the people of charge who was sacking got sacked as well. That had me in tears.
And then the directors of the firm that hired the people to have them sacked then got sacked.
I think you're right. I did actually check for the subtitles because what was happening with mine?
Yes.
My normal subtitles on already, and then those subtitles at the bottom, and I was like, wait, what? So I couldn't actually
What
read the
happened, like, the
Swedish thing at the bottom there.
It's like a subtitleception, isn't
Exactly.
it? It's like,
I was like, why is Netflix giving me two sets of subtitles here for this? But yeah, when he started talking about all the Swedish things, then I was just
It's
like,
like,
oh,
you
wait.
can see the lovely lakes and the majestical moose. I mean, I think when you started seeing like it all in Swedish, it kind of just, you're just a bit like, well, you're kind of at the first part of the credits. It's a bit weird because your eyes are drawn to like, oh, who's in the film, and then you see these mysterious credits, and then as we get into the title sequence, all of a sudden we're like, actually, yeah, I just want to see what the subtitles are next going to say, and until you get that massive long paragraph about
The moose.
mooses and. I think the
red
front
llamas, the Mexican alpacas, I don't.
And I was watching this. Bear in mind, I was watching this movie at like 4 a.m, as I do with
some
most
reason.
movies. And like the second part of that credit scene practically gave me a seizure because it was just really bright lights flashing in front of my eyes.
I can just imagine his eyes sort of closing in pain, like oh.
But honestly, just the titles themselves, I just love watching because it's just brilliant. Like it's just so stupid that it's just hilarious to watch. You know,
Right off the bat, you know the movie isn't going to take itself seriously at all.
then we're cut straight to what 932 AD in England, which okay, you're just like, all right. Okay, why the hell are there knights? Because the Normans didn't invade by that point.
the sort of his history, they were like out the window. They just sort of yeeted
Literally.
that. They just went yeet, and it was just out the window. Sorry to cut in there. Continue.
But then we're then treated to this eerie opening, and then you think, oh yeah, a lot of the times in this film, it's a lot of like, what you expect, don't expect it. You know, when you expect there's a horse coming round the corner, and then you see this king pretending to ride a horse with a peasant behind with bloody coconuts.
Can I just say that whole coconut thing makes no sense to me? I just have to say that in all the scenes they were doing this coconut thing and riding a fake horse, is that just a budget thing?
Yep, that's what I was going to say. Because they couldn't. Right, so the total budget for this film. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Overall cost at its time was £230,000.
Wow.
And all those funds were raised by mainly rock bands such as the infamous Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
And that money equivalent is about 1.7 in the box office, and that's tiny for a feature film that is 95 minutes long. It's quite a long film. That's really tiny.
They did really well.
Yeah, they've done really well there. Box office, I've got it written down as $5 million.
It's considered one of the funniest movies of all time as well. Surprisingly, throwing out the fact in there.
It's in the top 250 films of all time on IMDb. Just
It's a number 250.
another fact.
I think
This is
for
another
once, I don't know if this is unprecedented or not. I don't know if this will ever come again. This is like a solar eclipse. But we actually all have to agree that we like the movie.
I was really surprised you all liked the movie.
I mean, we're all a bunch of memers, really, so it's a given. But
I think that's what I was telling Adam right before the podcast started, that it actually reminds me kind of our group and something that we'd make. So I think that's why we all actually enjoyed this movie, because it's our kind of humor.
it really
It
is.
literally is. So then we're obviously then brought to like the whole film is just separated in chapters and sketches and everything like that. We're brought to the idea of, you know, like the guard was so focused, not because he was King Arthur, because of
The coconuts and the swallows coming from.
yeah.
And the tavern
Let
of
me repeat.
velocity of a swallow.
And then the other guard comes in. It's like, what if it was an African swallow?
Or two swallows carrying it on a string between them.
That's just hilarious because they then reuse that by the end of the film when they're on the bridge, and then the bridge keeper is like asking all these questions, and then he asks about the swallow question. Arthur's like, what is it, a European or African swallow? And then the bridge keeper's like, oh, I don't know, and then I'm gonna die
Whoosh.
instead. Yeah,
He gets yeeted off the side of a cliff into the smouldering pain below.
literally. But honestly, like, there's just so many hilarious moments. I mean, every scene. I mean, I think for me as well, like the scene that always gets me is the bring out your dead scene.
That was, I liked that. I don't know why. I think it was just morbid, and that it was just different. You don't really see people getting sort of tossed onto a trolley or whatever that was.
See, I
or
might
cart.
disagree with you lot on that scene. That scene
Oh.
is one of my negatives there because that was the
Ooh.
Is
one
it?
scene I was like, this is going on a bit. But you see, they did that whole "I'm not dead" joke with the guy that he's about to put into the cart. But then they did that
Yep.
joke 3 more times, I think it was, or 4 more times. The same joke over and over again. It was done again with the Concord guy when he was shot by an arrow that the guy fires out. It was done with the bride's father.
Ah.
It was done with the second guy that they bring in. And it was like, I get that the joke was there, but then they do it multiple times, and it's like the scene is like 5 minutes long at a time. So it would have been like 15 minutes of scenes that they're just doing "I'm not dead."
I'm not dead jokes. I think overall they're funny though. It's like throughout the entire film because they keep recurring. You just see them, you know. It's you know what this reminds me of? That scene with Deadpool in Deadpool 2, right at the end where he's dying, but he's not dying at the same time.
Yeah.
So it just reminded me of that, and in the back of my head, I was sort of chuckling at that while watching this, so that I had that sort of cross link between it. So I just found the first scene with the guy going, I'm happy," and then he just gets knocked on the, he just gets conked on the back of the head. Like he's
he
like,
gets
plop.
smashed.
My guy just comes in from behind, just yeets him on the back of the head, and then
That's
pops
the
him
man
onto the
with the
thing and goes 9p. He's like 9p, please.
But don't you think that's just really good story writing? Because when we were treated with The Dictator, like this like, I'm gonna go back to that film because that's a prime example of where sometimes comedy is not used into a later scene. Now I know it may seem repetitive, but don't you think like that's just really creative story writing? Because they bring up, you know, the swallow idea, the coconut idea, and you know the fact that, oh, he's not quite dead. Oh no, now he's dead. You know, don't you think that's just really good story writing?
See, I would say that some of the negatives that we had about Bean and about the Dictator, so the Mr. Beans, were that some scenes were dragged out, which is the case in this movie. One of the negatives for the Dictator was that some jokes were repeated and done again, which was the case with this movie. So I'd say, I think basing it off of those points, yeah. But then comparing this movie, the fact that it's from 1975, then it definitely goes to the top again, because I'd say that, yeah, they could use these jokes as much as they want back then. And yeah, it's funny to us.
But the thing is, you shouldn't use its age as an excuse. If you honestly didn't find it funny, I mean, I honestly, like, there are some scenes where I feel it dragged out. Like, it's because of the age of the film. You know, another scene for me, like, straight after, you know, he's not dead, we get to this peasant scene, which, you know, the context is there about politics, you know, oh, help, I'm being suppressed.
And that's the thing,
help me.
Scene, that one I've got in my positives, because that's the scene I actually liked.
Oh, that's so weird.
Brilliant.
That is very weird, actually, because that was a scene that I liked when he's like, how did you
who's your
become king?
lord?
Oh yeah, who's your lord? But like,
We don't have a lord.
when he said that,
You know-
this lady handed him the sword, the Excalibur, from the bottom of the water, signifying by divine providence that I, Arthur, was to carry Excalibur. And he's like, listen, strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not from ceremony.
Wow.
Whew, there you go.
That's impressive.
I had the
That
whole
is
quote
impressive.
written down there. So I think that scene is hilarious to me because he's basically saying, it's like that Dictator scene where he's comparing the dictatorship to the what's the other one?
Democracy.
Democracy. Yes. Wow.
Through democracy.
And yeah, it reminds me of
away.
that scene, and that's why in that movie that scene was funny to me, and in this movie this scene is funny to me as well.
But I just think it's because I've watched it so many times. I'm just like, yeah, I know what he's going to say. It's going to be about, the context of politics and everything like that. I think it's just because I'm just a usual viewer of it, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I've seen this scene so many times. But go on, Abs. What were you going to say?
You know what? With this scene, for one, I'm just gonna put this out there. That scene just basically told King Arthur, "Fuck off." That's what the peasant did. The peasant, who was very smart by all means, basically went, "Fuck your ideals." Just showed a massive middle finger, which I found hilarious. And then the fight they sort of had after that, it's like one that you'd have with your little brother or your sibling or whatever. Like, you're sort of in each other's faces, and then one's screaming, trying to get the attention of everyone else, while the other one's not really doing much, or something over the top. I just found him going, "I'm being that sort of mellow, dramatic acting. I loved it. The thing is, I'm in between you both again. I'm just gonna add so much fuel today, guys."
Yeah, but see,
Oh my
that
days.
scene for me is smart comedy, because we're always told the story of King Arthur, how he got the sword and how he became king, and we will just take that story as it is. But
Yeah.
the guy is turning around and saying that's some tart giving him a sword out of a pond. And then making
The lady in the
Some
pond.
bullshit.
The lady in the pond is a tart. That is the takeaway from that entire scene. You've just looked on British history, and they've gone, right, you there, you're a tart. That is one
Absolutely.
hell of a commentary.
Absolutely. And then it comes to probably the most famous scene
Mate.
from Monty Python. He's going through the forest, the infamous soundtrack, which was like, I love the soundtrack by Neil Innes, I think it's Neil Innes. And then we're cutting in between, there's a big fight going on between the Green Knight and the infamous Black Knight. And honestly, the Black Knight, every single time I watch it, I am in tears of laughter, because
It's funny.
we don't expect it. I mean, we think the fight is over. He's lost both his arms, and then he's kneeling down. He's saying, "Oh Lord, we thank you thee," and then he gets drop kicked. He's like, "Come on in, chicken."
It's just funny right off the bat, because
Around him as well.
his arm gets chopped off and he's like, "'Tis but a scratch."
Literally,
Famous
they got
quotes.
King Arthur, your arms off. It.
And he's like, "I've had worse. Come on, you pansy."
Yeah. Chicken,
That's
chicken.
That's something Pranav would say to someone. "'Tis but a scratch. It's a flesh wound.
Yeah,
Come on,
that's how I fight all
pansy."
my fight. I'm invincible. You're a loony.
Like,
But
you know what? That scene, it takes the breath out of my lungs, and it genuinely just has me lost for what. It's funny. It's what it is. That scene had me crying, and it is by far one of the funniest things I've ever seen to this day. Nothing,
wow.
nothing has actually managed to get me like that, save for a few bits here and there. But that had me literally breathing out my mouth. I was like a seal trying to laugh. I was like,
It is a very hilarious scene, especially when both his arms are off. I did chuckle there when it was just a flesh wound.
It's the kick on the face, man.
Yeah, I think it's that drop kick when he's just kneeling. He's like, "Yes, I've won the battle." He's like, "Come on then, you fucking dickhead."
Let's fucking have it.
But I think like if we bring it to like kind of modern films like nowadays, it's kind of taking the piss, because it's like, the good guy is obviously won, but it's just showing like, how sometimes, you just want the bad guy just to get back up and just keep going, just to keep, kicking in the face. It's just taking the piss out of all that.
Pranav.
I think.
Sorry, let me link it back to Pranav there, Adam,
shit.
for a second.
Oh dear.
Pranav, you know what this reminds me of? Is when Alex kicked you while you guys were underwater when you guys
Yep.
on holiday. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
You haven't seen this, but no one knows what that video is other than us.
It just reminded me. Just your face and the impact of it.
Very similar. The next scene that we move on to is the witch scene, where they're saying burn the witch.
Which, oh my god, oh my god. Yeah, that I actually forgot to write that in, but like I just thought that was just all so funny, you know. It's just like, yeah, we got a witch, and but even before the witch, oh my god, I forgot. It's the monks. Fucking hell! Like I told you about the monks, where it's just, you know, you just think, oh, like, oh, there's a blessing going along. And all of a sudden, they're just slamming the Bible.
What was that scene, actually? I didn't understand that one. What was going on?
Did you not? Well, so basically, well, it doesn't really make sense.
Exactly.
But the idea is saying it's meant to be like a blessing. Like, you know, how monks go around towns and they, because obviously during the time there was the Black Death going around, and they needed people to, you know, show blessings. There was a lot of, you know, witchcraft and wizardry. Like even though the film is not contextually correct, it was stuff that happened. But it was kind of just saying, because Monty Python treads on this thin water of religion. Like, especially in another film I'd recommend to watch is Monty Python and the Life of Brian. Now that film, like, especially because it's about Jesus Christ himself, they take the piss out of that, I think. But for the monk scene, like, it doesn't make sense because, but like, in a way, it's kind of saying, I am a really religious monk, but I worship this Bible with my life, so I'm gonna slam the fuck out of it. Like, I think that's what it's trying to say.
It's every single time you think, oh, they made it look very serious, and then out of nowhere, plonk, it comes in a Bible on their head. The thing is, they're sort of, like you said, they're relating back to their previous works by again, it's a mockery of a lot of things. It's a mockery of religion as well as history, and like you said, very fine line. But it's always a funny scene for me. I sort of looked at it. The first time I saw it, I nearly spat out water because I was drinking at that time. I was having some water. I nearly went, you know, just. I didn't expect that to happen.
But I think as well that this film is very clever. Like, if I was doing an overall synopsis, because the difference to that, I'm going to go back to probably Mr. Bean and The Dictator. Like, some films don't give you a breather, and this film, yes, like, there are moments where, you know, you take a sip of water and all of a sudden he's slamming his head to a Bible. But there were actually moments where, you know, you took some time to kind of just go, right, cool, let's analyze this a bit more. But, like, again, you do need your full concentration to it. It's just one of those films, like you two said, you just had to watch.
And that's the thing. That's what I mean by smart comedy. There's things in there that are there to make you chuckle, obviously there to make you laugh, but they happen out of the blue, or just even the ones that they're trying to explain something. Like the witch scene that I was just going on to, where they say she's a witch.
Sorry.
You'd think the guy, the night guy, what's his name?
Sir Bedivere.
Bedivere. Okay.
Bedivere.
Got that written down completely wrong. But yeah, you'd think he'd be one of the smart ones because he's saying, "Why is she a witch?" And then they try and explain it, and something to do with breads, with apples, and then
ducks.
And then they're weighing her up against a duck.
She's a witch. Where it's like, okay, so that's where, like, the smart comedy comes in, because the scene starts off slowly. You think there's a smart character, and then there's stupid crowd, and then it evolves into the scene of just complete stupidity.
Yeah, they sort of started off. They went stupid, then subverting your expectations a bit by thinking, oh, maybe this guy's smart. Then they go straight back into idiotic. And then as you progress towards the end of that scene, before they cut into the sort of next chapter, they're like, okay, complete idiocy. They just throw all the idiocy in there. They're like, you know, just compare her to the weight of a duck, and that means she's a witch. And that's how we'll think about it. It's okay. You know, it's okay. Don't worry. It's the way they brush it off.
Yeah, I thought the scales were a bit inaccurate, in my opinion. They kind of swayed, and then they rebalanced out. And then they're all like, it's a witch! It's a witch! And she's like, for fuck's sake.
They're like, burn her, burn her. I'm like, oh, fucking, here we go again.
So then we obviously then they get their clan together. We have Sir Galahad that comes in, and then Sir Lancelot and Sir Robin, who not quite so brave, and
Not quite so brave as Sir Lancelot.
yeah,
Who is the
who
brave?
nearly fought the dragon of Endor or whatever it is.
Who
No, that's
nearly stood
Minecraft,
up
I
to
think.
the vicious chicken of Bristol, and who had personally wet
Yeah,
himself
the
at the
chicken of
Battle
Bristol.
Badon Hill.
And Sir not appearing in this movie. But here's an interesting fact. Do you know whose hand that was turning the page?
No.
That was Terry Gilliam's wife. And that was recorded in their actual home. And you know when that beast of a hand, the gorilla hand,
Yeah.
took away the hand, that was Terry Gilliam. And he did not tell her that he was going to do that.
That would have been the thing is, you just see the hand getting sort of yanked away, like, oh, damn, that's a gorilla.
Yeah.
Gorilla
literally.
going mad.
And I thought, like, if I was doing a bit more facts, obviously this is a very, very low budget film. And it's even in their post interviews, like both Terry Jones and Terry Gilliam, they both said the reason why they had two directors is because on set it was such a handful. Like, to do each scene, they had to do so many takes. And because obviously all five of them had equal control of the Monty Pythons, they felt like with two of them there, they had to, they had to give a sense of direction. Like, when you see the archive footage, the behind the scenes, you hear, I think they had a lot of problems with Graham Chapman, who played King Arthur, and a lot of other characters. And even Graham Chapman would come on set drunk because, like he would get drunk like most nights out, and he would come out and just like, oh, fuck this, like,
Sounds like my kind of
go and
guy.
have a cigar or whatever.
But like, I was comparing this to our group. It's like us trying to plan a night out.
Wow.
You definitely, that's why you need two people to sort of plan a night out with us. I think the thing is, these guys are all, let's be honest, they're all very funny people. They have a very out there, you could tell their personalities were definitely out there and sort of brash and fun, and they'd get lost in the energy, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So by having, two directors, it probably made it easier to reel everyone in, if you know what I mean. At the end of the night, you need two people to sort of look after one group and then look after the other, like leads.
Thank you too. I'm usually the messy one.
Yeah, normally it's Pran and myself, but yeah.
Yeah, let's not remind us of leads, shall we not? Yeah, another interesting fact is that, well, actually, I'm gonna do the fact later on. Fuck it. It will make sense.
We'll do it in the fact section.
Yeah.
Right at the end, guys.
Well, near the end, because it will make sense. But the main reason why there was two directors is because if one has a confrontation, say with Graham, and they've had enough, you see, it's like, oh no, I'm just taking a breather. I'm gonna let the other Terry take over to direct. That's literally how they did it. Because they were so used to like doing sketches together and everything. So now we've got this full team, and then I'm gonna skip the whole kind of dancing scene, where they're gonna go to Camelot.
Yep.
They all have a good time and
have some Hammerlot.
I
sing for them. Framelot.
For fuck's sake.
I push a Pramalot.
Yeah, parts of that
it was
scene.
just like for me. Nah, I'm not gonna talk about it, but like I think it was a bit of a filler.
It was. They needed something to sort of go between the scenes, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. But then we come to this next castle, it led by the French, which was played by the infamous John Cleese. I love him. He's my favorite Python.
He's hilarious.
He is
He's just hilarious.
I fart in your general election, you filthy mug.
Your mother was an hamster and your father smelt of elderberries.
I find weirdly watching again. I wouldn't say it's a positive and a negative, but like I love the scene because it's just hilarious. You know, they're just chucking chickens, cows, catapulting, whatever.
Geese, a duck,
But
a cat.
literally everything. But I still find sometimes some of the dialogue is a bit drawn out. I just think it, again, this is probably me watching it for the 1000th time. It just drained out for me a bit. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, that's the thing. So what I can notice with the movies, they've got these big scenes and then filler scenes along with it. So they've got these bigger scenes planned that they've obviously put more of their budget into. Well, I don't know, chucking cows off the castle and whatnot.
Use an actual an actual catapult on a cow.
If you look at the scene list itself, you can tell like there's the bigger scene and there's like the scenes, like the whole song thing, or the one where they're talking to the god or whoever they're talking to in the sky.
The triple guard, the triple-headed guard.
Yeah, that scene is definitely in my negatives because that scene just made no sense to me. It was just there to just add a filler into the movie during the transition because it doesn't have like a proper transition, obviously. So they just have to do it by joke with like these smaller jokes in the middle.
Yeah, and I think the funniest bit was obviously like how they were mocking Brave Sir Robin, saying he's going to get his eyes drawn out and his guts sucked out and legs smacked in and his eyeballs drawn or whatever, like all that. Yeah, like I have to agree there is a lot of that. But I think that's just under budget. Like it's just what they had.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned about how, you know, there's bigger scenes, how they brought up from that. Just like I was going to bring this fact later on, but in theory, the first draft of this script, 90% of their content was thrown out the window because it was just trash, because they were just making sketches. And they actually built the story of like King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table from one of the end scenes at the bridge where he's with the gatekeeper. That was officially the first scene they filmed and the first thing they actually wrote on paper. Like, how mad is that?
It doesn't follow the normal way, the classical way of making movies.
They did it almost like, you know how they had it in acts? That's what they did. They sort of had it like first chapter, second chapter. It's almost like a theatrical movie, if you know what I mean. That's sort of the structure that they went with. Sort of, they've almost, you know, they might as well have had someone close a curtain in front of you as they switch between the scenes. Because that was the sort of style that they went for by going from chapter to chapter. And that scene, you know, where they're sort of flicking through the book. That sort of fairy tale-esque thing, I think Shrek borrowed on that as well. So I sort of linked it to quite a few other movies or a few other things, because when you go to watch, I don't know, for example, off the top of my head, you go to watch Lion King or The Woman in Black in theaters, you know, you've got the curtains draw and then the next act begins. In this, you've got that sort of page flip scene, next act begins, or you've got the cartoon animator, and hats off to that person as well. They did a great fucking job.
Can we skip a few scenes and go to the Knights of...
Which one?
By the Knights of...
The Knights who say knee. For me, it developed as we see them even more so. Because when they said knee the first time, I was just like, oh, okay. Right, cool. They called the Knights who say knee. That's so stupid. But then when they actually asked for what they demanded, which was a fucking shrubbery.
We want a shrubbery.
That's curved around the edges.
We shall say knee again to you if you do not.
But for me, it got... Honestly, I just can't stop.
I don't know how you review that scene. It's just them just shouting knee at them when they want a shrubbery. I think we're trying to explain a scene that doesn't have any explanation to it.
You can't explain it. You have to watch it, guys. That's what you have to do. You have to go watch that movie, and then you have to turn around to whoever's near you and start going, me.
It's just hilarious. And then they do what they ask, you know, they said knee to that old woman. It's like, no, please, stop. And then they find the shrubber collector. I collect shrubberies. And then they bring the bloody shrubbery and they go, I want another shrubbery. And I just think that's the Knights at St. Knee or the eki patang
That's
knights.
not
I
even
think that's what they call
pronounceable.
it.
That isn't even pronounceable. The Knights
think-
who were formerly known until now as the Knights of Ni.
Literally, I think they just got funnier as we saw them more and more. Like, I don't know what about you guys.
I just feel like they kind of stood there and they were like, we need to film a scene here. And they're like, how about Knights of Ni? That's where the scene came
Probably.
out of. It's like, they just completely, it felt very improvised to me, actually. A lot of the.
You know, funny enough, when I first saw that scene, I didn't entirely take to it. I sort of sat there and I was like, where's the funny? And then after it, it sort of developed a bit more as, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, that wasn't as, that was sort of disappointed. And then it got funnier once the jokes sort of started coming in, where they started reacting to nee. That is where I sort of started to refocus again on the comedy. But when it first came up to me, like second time watching it, I was like, okay, yeah, I like this. First time watching it, I was like, what?
Sorry to cut in, but I think it's just that development of, right, we've come across a foe. Right, they say knee. Okay, that's really funny. But like, how can we make this funnier? It's like, right, let's give them a task. It's that development of a character. I feel they actually really developed the character, that the knights that say knee, because there's three main traits. They say knee, or they say fatang, and then they want shrubberies, and they don't like the word it. I think it's just really clever character development. What
And I
are you
think
saying,
these
Pranav?
smaller, more improvised scenes were a lot funnier than like the biggest scenes, like the one with all the women in that castle. That scene really did nothing for me because it just kept on stretching longer and longer, and it ended with a funny line where he's like, "You need to get out of here," and he's like, "Bet you're gay." And he's like, "No, I'm not." That was the only funny end to that scene. The whole scene itself, it was so pointless to me.
You know what? It's where
True.
that scene with the castle with all the women. The funniest thing I think in that was where they break the wall entirely. They're like,
Yeah.
don't you think this scene is quite funny? And it's like, wait, what? What's happening? You've lost me. That level of stupidity across the film.
They not only just broke the fourth wall, but they skipped to like the later scenes. Like we skipped to Tim the Enchanter. Like, it's so clever because you're kind of like, it's a bit like the Deadpool approach. You're just like, hang on, like they're talking to me now. Like, are they sure they're trying to, are you sure this is a film?
It was such a caricature, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think that scene is, yeah, like I see where you're getting, Pran, but I just think the whole overall context, they're meant to be like sirens, if pirates go out to sea,
Yeah.
and then they see these beautiful
I see
women.
that, but you see, like the smaller scenes, that's what I'm trying to say. Those smaller scenes were a lot funnier, but this scene felt like it was something. There was a joke that they were going for, but it just did not land well. And I was just sat there in that whole scene, just thinking, when is this gonna end? And then that's why I had a chuckle at the end when he's like, "Oh, I bet you're gay." No, I'm not.
It got funny at the end. I think the build-up wasn't the actual main part of the scene where they get him into bed or whatever. It's the ending of it where he's like, there's only 150 of them, they won't be hard to tackle, and then the women are sort of running behind him. That end scene is where the comedy was.
And I think the goal with that scene was to do that whole breaking the thing and that approaching, but then that made the rest of the scene feel quite pointless, like the whole beginning and the middle part of the scene.
It's one of those sort of hit and miss scenes, I think. Yeah. It doesn't work for everyone. It certainly didn't work for you, Pranav.
Nope.
And I think that's sometimes the case when you see, like, if you do see more Monty Python films, there'll be scenes like even when I'm talking to my family, I just say, yeah, I love that scene with, with like Tim the Enchanter. Then my dad would go, it was okay, but this scene is better. It depends on what comedy you enjoy, because it hits a whole range. I mean, the film itself is silly, but it just depends what's your type of humor.
there's different levels of silly. Sorry, Adam, to cut in there.
And that's the thing. Different people would enjoy different scenes in this whole movie, and there's a scene for everyone.
So this, I would like to talk about my favorite like scene in the whole film, and I think it's the tale of Sir Lacelot. That for me is fantastic. Like, hands down, that whole, when we were treated to the, this prince who it should technically be a princess who is forced to marry this ugly thing, and then I think again it's breaking the fourth wall when he wants to sing and dance, the music starts, and then his dad's like, no, stop that. I honestly, what do you guys think of that like whole sequence with his father?
Just mind blown, really. Just mind blown by that entire scene, because obviously it's hilarious when he's writing that little letter and then he fires the arrow out and then they keep smiling at him whilst he's doing the things. I think that was a hilarious scene. But countering that, one of the downsides for me in that scene was when the dad, he's walking out of the door and he's explaining to the guards what they need to do, and that scene again drags out. But I think that's more of a time thing, in the could be a year thing when
pacing.
The whole pacing thing. Could have been funnier. But for me, that scene was dragged a bit because it brings down the rest of the comedy in the scene if one of the scenes is going on too long. And I think when he's trying to explain, okay, you need to guard him and not do anything until I come back or whatever he's saying, and you're like, oh, this, but they're like purposely saying the wrong thing. But that feels like a more planned joke where it doesn't work. It's the improvisation scenes that work a lot better.
Yeah,
it's that scene, I think it's so different from everything else because the rest of the movie it's sort of going on like the normal, well, not normal, but a somewhat idyllic hero quest type thing, and then you've got the sort of damsel in distress who is in fact a prince and not a princess, and the whole purpose is for land, and they get lost again with that pacing. I think they need to work on a little bit more of getting the jokes out there but not letting it drag on too much. I think that's where I can agree with Pranav on it. But besides that scene, I did enjoy it. I won't lie.
It picks up back again when Lancelot starts running at the castle. They play the clip like 4 or 5 times.
3 times.
Stay in the clip. And then out of nowhere he stabs them. Like, hey.
The guy's like, oi, what are you doing, mate?
Oh, there's a lot of memes on that. But like that's such a significant scene because that again it breaks the whole plot of a film. It's just like, oh, why are they using the same clip over and over? And then all of a sudden our spatial awareness is suddenly taken away. And here's another interesting fact. I mean, well, actually 2 interesting facts. That scene where, because most of the shots were filmed in Scotland. I mean, let's just say that all those castle scenes, they were all one castle. Did you not notice they were all like very similar?
They were shot at different angles, and I was gonna actually come up to that at some point, but now that you mention it, I might as well say it. Hope you don't mind, mate. But the videographers and the sort of the visuals they had was absolutely amazing. Bearing in mind, these guys, they had a very low budget to go off of. So what they decided to do is they filmed from low angles, high angles, different angles, sort of moving all about the sort of castles, because they had about 3 or 4. I think one was over in Sussex, and the majority of them were sort of near Glencoe up in Scotland. And they were really, really, really good with the way they worked the camera and with what they had to use, because at that time, again, film quality, it sort of went up or down depending on the sort of film, depending on the day, the temperature. A lot of things can impact filming, especially because again, it was 1975, so again, the sort of quality, it stood out to me. Like, I enjoyed the overall aesthetic, just sort of throwing it out there. I did enjoy it, the way everything was done.
Yeah. And even sorry, Pran, but like some of like the castle shots you're talking about, some of them were actually drawings, because there was actually a joke in there when they were saying like, look, there's Camelot, and then one of the peasants goes, it's only a drawing. Like, some of those shots were actually drawings, like, even though like majority, yes, they're of the same castle over and over again. It was just very clever. And the other fact I was going to say is that shot where he keeps running, that was like their kind of second round, when they want to refilm stuff, and they did that in England instead of Scotland, because Terry Gilliam didn't like the way John Cleese was kind of running, so they just said to him, go and fucking run your balls off like you were gonna stab, and that's what he did. So sorry, Pran, did you have any input?
I was just agreeing with all of that. I think
fair enough.
Kudos to the directors and the decision-making team to use the same castle and use the same areas over and over again, and yeah, that saved them a lot of money to do all
Absolutely. I love Lacelot just killing everyone.
The rampage. He just went on full sort of, it was like a Deadpool scene all over to me. I don't know why. It just looked like him going red mask over his face and going ba 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 ba. With a sword, of course.
It's fantastic. It's just my favourite scene in the whole film. I think we could skip along a little bit more because there's a lot of travelling. I put in here memorable characters. I mean, like Tim the Enchanter, like absolutely crazy, just very strange as well, kind of taking the piss out. Like, there wasn't any like Lord of the Ring movies or Harry Potter movies or enchanting movies really, apart from like Disney's Sword in the Stone as such, so kind of take the piss out of that. But I think the next key element has to be the infamous White Rabbit and the holy hand grenade.
Yep. It starts off again as a stupid scene where you're thinking, what's he gonna do? And then that rabbit goes on a rampage, starts killing everyone.
Just biting everything. Like, there's body parts flown all over the place, and you never thought a rabbit could be so dangerous. I have a fear of rabbits now after watching that one scene.
They actually had to as well. I got loads of facts for this film, man. They actually had to paint that rabbit bright white and dress it in a coating so then it can reflect off the camera. So they had to actually point a light at the reflector, point it at the rabbit, so then the rabbit can actually be seen by the camera, because these are ancient cameras, they run on film or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was really tough to get those kind of shots, because sometimes, a lot of the time on set, they had trouble shooting in the light because there was a lot of wind, the clouds kept going over, and one of those, the rabbit scene, it took about 20 shots just to get that rabbit just to go over that little hill to show itself.
Yeah, and just picking up right from there, if no one had told me that this movie was from 1975 and I was just watching randomly, I would have probably tried to guess this was like the 90s or something, or like 2005, because I wouldn't be able to tell that this was a really old movie, because everything that they've done is just very well done.
Wow. That's actually quite interesting. No, I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way.
But no,
I know that sounds so sarcastic, but honestly, I'm just like,
they had this all these ideas that they need to like paint the rabbit, like you said, and like all these jokes that are still working to this day now and making us in 2020 laugh. So it's just very well done.
That's just fantastic, man. Like,
and I really liked it.
And I was really worried because even when I brought up this idea, I was like, "Hey guys, this is a film from 1975," and then you were both just like,
huh? Don't know if I like it.
Yeah, you're both like, "Oh, I'm not sure about this, Adam," or whatever. I'm just like, mate, just watch it. Like, and it actually brings joy to my soul to say you both like really, really enjoyed it. And go back to it, the holy hand grenade, so famous. I mean, it was used in Ready Player One as well. Again, there's just the silliness of, "No, I shall count to 3, and then there shall be 4. 4 shall be release, no more than 3. 2 to
Every
5. Like,
single dialogue in the movie is just comedic, and it just goes on. Like he still says 1, 2, 5 when they throw the grenade.
literally. I mean, there's just like, I know we've been doing this for a long time, but I think the final thing I would like to just point out, hats off to the animators. I mean, I think it took them about 1.5 to 2 years to animate those little scenes.
Well,
You know, especially the little transition scenes.
A lot of work went into that film, and it shows. That's the thing. They really sort of put key bits of detail in there, and honestly, all I can say to the animators is hats off, because they did a wonderful job, and everything that went around those sort of animations and all of that, it matched. They did it around that as well. They didn't skip over bits. They put a lot of work into it, and it shows at the end of the day. And that's why, for me, I loved that bit. The animations were fucking hilarious, especially the ones with all the monks jumping off a tree. I don't know why that was funny. I just found that hilarious.
I just laughed at that, when they met the beast of and then the beast starts chasing, the actual beast starts chasing them. And another fact, because they didn't have enough budget, they just decided, well, the animator's just going to have a heart attack.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. They just didn't have the money, I'm guessing, for a huge beast.
Not only they didn't have budget, they just ran into a dead end. They're like, how the hell are they going to escape this? Oh, fuck it, the animator's just going to die.
Just break the wall again.
Yeah, and that was, sorry to cut in, but that was once again played by Terry Gilliam.
It's such a small cast, that's the thing. Like, the main cast is small, and it's within that sort of Monty Python's Flying Circus, or the Monty Python group. And because of that, they were able to, again, with that budget, they were able to play around with it a little bit more, and then they were able to sort of keep it all within the sort of family, so to speak, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this film for now nearly an hour again.
We could go on for ages if we go scene by scene. That's the thing.
Honestly, well, actually, I do want to talk about another element, which, again, it is another budget issue, but I think it's the whole the argument between, was this a modern film, as in, was this all just a stage, or was this actually set in their, historical inaccuracy? Because at the end of the film, there was just going to be this whole battle to, get into the castle and get this Holy Grail from the French soldiers who deemly return again. And then the police arrive.
I'm not sure with the whole timing and all the thing there. But that's what it comes back to. If you're trying to show a historic time, then why is there police there? What's going on there? But I think they are trying to break the fourth wall again there and saying that they're all just actors in a way, and they've actually killed a historian guy. That makes sense. And then the police has come to arrest them.
So, like, overall, this film was just meant for actors. Like, they were just literally acting.
I think they were shooting a documentary. That's what I think about it.
You know what came to mind for me, though? I think they were filming a sort of, those reenactment days where you sort of dress up as as knights and everything, and then you kind of play everything out bit by bit. I felt like it was a spoof version of that, where they were playing everything out. They were sort of doing this massive play by tool, and they were actually filming, and the police decided to go, right, you off. Let me break your camera as well.
That's actually a really interesting twist. That I'd never actually thought of that. Really.
That's the first thing that came to mind, like a reenactment day. And I was like, hold on. This is like one of those days where they go and do this, and then they got cut in between. I'm not sure if there was an actual person who died, but, God rest his soul if they did, but,
His name was Historian Frank.
Famous historian Frank. May he rest in peace.
And he died from when he got hit with the wooden baton. he was the same guy who got knocked out.
Plonked on the back of the head.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think but again, this was also the history part of it was filmed after like they'd done all the castle scenes. They're like, shit, we haven't got a final battle, so they're like, fuck it, we're just gonna cut the movie there. But like, it was a really interesting switch because overall you're getting this backstory of, you know, the police are now involved, you know, they've arrested Lacelot and everything like that, you know, that's going to overtake. So actually that's I think I have to agree with you, Abs. Like, I'm going to agree with you. I think this whole film is just an inaccurate documentary on King Arthur's tale. Really.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's certain scenes were skipped over, but they were just more or less filler scenes. But a majority of this film, it went really well. There were some bits that dragged out, but I genuinely think, you know, it was a great film. And if I have to use "ni" on people nowadays, I think I will, just because you don't know what to say to them.
I'm expecting a lot of
Like, if
me's
you-
in our group chat now.
Yeah, there is going
You
to
know
be
what?
a lot
Yeah,
of
just to
knees.
silence people, just go "ni, ni."
Knee, yeah. So let's finally conclude this amazing film. Like, what are your opinions on it? Like,
Yeah,
Where
out of
we are.
10?
Right.
We do out of 10s?
Out of 10s, yes. Pranav, please start, then Adam, then me.
Right,
Let's
I'd
keep-
give it a solid 8. 8.5 if I have
Solid.
to, actually.
wow,
There you go. That's
I
the highest
rate
he's given.
Yep. Highest
The
I've given
highest.
to
it's
a
higher
movie
than
so
The
far.
Dictator, isn't it?
That is higher than
Yeah.
The Dictator, and that was a movie he defended with his life.
Wow.
So that definitely says something.
Go on, Abs.
Okay, me. You know what? I really have to like a film to give a 9. I'm normally very harsh. I'll give it a 9, just because
Solid.
Oof.
the comedy was there for me, and I just loved every single inch of the comedy. So, you know, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. And please, no public and everyone listening to this, you may not see another 9 unless I really, really, you know, love the
I was gonna
movie.
say, if Interstellar or something comes up, you better give it a 10. Anything below a
Mate,
9 now, if you give it
Listen,
this a 9.
when we get to that, you'll see what I'll give it.
Alright.
All right.
Don't
He's gonna give it a
worry,
1.
Don't
gonna give it a
worry,
1.
bro. It's okay, man.
Honestly, yeah, this is my favorite comedy of all time. Like, I can't give it a 10. I can't, just because, again, like you said, there was scene, like, I think it's after watching it the 1,000th time, it's just scenes where it's just like, yeah, it's not stood its test of time. So for me, it's got to be a solid 9.5.
Ooh,
And I would,
Wow.
you know,
damn.
like, this is actually one of my childhood films. It was the first Monty Python I've ever seen. I was actually really inspired by this film to like who I am today, and it just
shows.
stands the test of time. It really does. And I just recommend anyone, like, if you think we're just kind of overhyping this film, watch it. Like, I'm gonna leave a film, like, I'm not sure if it's legal, but there's a 480 version of this film on YouTube. So if you want to watch the film, follow the link down below, or like, it's on Netflix. Just give it a watch, man. Like, it's you'll be glued to your screen and you'll be watching it over and over again.
And you know, before I forget, I'll do the Pranav's random fact section.
Oh yeah.
So, it's Pranav, giggity gig.
It's random fact of the week. Knee.
Alright. So, when the film
Reel it
actually
in, lads,
opened up-
reel it in.
you reel it in. When the film opened up in Cannes, that subtitle scene was actually hilarious for everyone. And the film was randomly stopped, and a bunch of firemen ran into the audience and to stop everyone and to actually take them out. Everyone thought it was just part of the joke.
Really?
And it was because it was just so perfect how it was just right after the title scene. What they didn't know, there was actually a real bomb scare, and everyone was evacuated out. And then once the theater was deemed clear, everyone went in to watch the movie again.
Are they sure the movie wasn't the bomb?
So this was at the film
Fantastic.
opening, where there was a bomb scare, and everyone didn't even realize. They thought it was just part of the joke.
That is a
God.
very, you know what? From the sounds of it, that is a very Monty Python-esque thing to do.
But to have a bomb scare, maybe they did just call it in themselves.
You never know, mate. You never know. But yeah, on a side
That's-
note, guys, this is going to be completely out of there. This is completely not related to the film at all.
Right.
I've been thinking about a day. I'm calling it a food day. What I've been thinking about is I think, in the morning I need like a McDonald's breakfast, then I need a Nando's for lunch, and then I need a KFC for dinner, and then I need creams for dessert. Like that has been sort of on my mind recently, just a food day. But yeah,
Yes,
back to the
please.
movie
Right.
and everything else.
Okay.
Abs is just very hungry.
Yeah, he's just a hungry Abs.
For any of those women out there listening in.
What?
Follow him on his OnlyFans and just give him some food.
I do not have an OnlyFans. Me.
I think we need to conclude
that's
before we
his-
take this on for even longer.
His flirtatious is flirting is naughty suit. Oh my god. I'm wetting myself. Oh my days.
This is just like the movie. It's going down the drain. Come on.
Literally.
This went from really good to fuck, here we go again.
What have you done, Abs? What have you done? This has just been a whole roasting of Abs, I think.
No, listen. Let's not. Right, yeah. So moving on to the
Right.
film.
I'm moving out of the film more
Yep.
like.
Out of the film.
Well, I think we're giving our thoughts, but anyway. I don't know, unless you want any more thoughts.
Check out podcasts on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube.
Hello, one and
Alright.
all, and one for.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Mate,
Right. Let's
go on.
compose.
Let's end it.
Good
Breathe.
chill.
And we're back.
That's it for today. I think that concludes everything that we talked about. Thank you so much to Abs and Pran for jumping on once again.
My pleasure.
Yep. Pleasure as always.
It's getting me through this lockdown. I mean, I haven't even said the word today. I'm not going to say that it's similar to the Voldemort word. That I'm going to
The word
refuse
that
to
should
say.
never be said. The
Yeah,
Dark
I'm-
Master.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it because then I'm going to just get pissed off at it. Anyway, you could check out our podcasts all on Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Link is down below. Just type in the AM_filmmaking podcast. You should be able to find it. So next Thursday, I'm going to be joined with a new guest. Her name is Kerry. And we're going to be reviewing The Pineapple Express. I personally never watched that film. It's another comedy, and I'm going to give my honest reviews about it. So if you're interested and want to listen on or listen to more content, please go and give it a like, and I'll see you all next Thursday. Take care, guys. Me.